Start with a story. That's a good plan for a summertime sermon. I said that last week, and I'll say it again. So here's another story. Two members of the United States Congress were arguing about religion. Each was convinced that he knew more about the religion than the other guy. So finally one says, "Bet you $20 you don't even know the Lord's Prayer." Second guy says, "I do too, I'll take your money." First congressman says, "Okay, prove it." Second one says, "Lord's Prayer goes like this. Now I lay me down to sleep." Other guy says, "Son of a gun, here's your $20, you do know it." Now I know the St. Mark's kids are smarter than those two guys. I can sometimes hear our youngest voices saying the Lord's Prayer during our Sunday services, and it always warms my heart. Jesus must have taught this prayer a lot. He seems to have taught it at various times and in more than one version. The Gospel of Matthew has the longer version, and that's the one we all know by heart. Luke's Gospel has a shorter version that we just heard. So here's another story about the Lord's Prayer. This one comes from the Russian Orthodox Christian tradition. A bishop was traveling by ship, and as they passed an island, a sailor told the bishop that this island was the home of 3 holy hermits. The bishop decided that this island was in his jurisdiction, so it was his duty to stop and inspect the 3 holy men. He convinced the ship's captain to stop for a short visit, and he found the hermits on shore, and he asked them if they were Christians. Enthusiastically, they responded, "Oh, yes." Well, then the bishop asked them how they prayed. They said, "When we pray, we say this: 'We are free. You are free. Have mercy upon us.'" The bishop was horrified at this unusual and unauthorized prayer, so he taught them the Lord's Prayer. He made them repeat it after him, line by line. It was hard work. They were very simple men. The bishop thought them unintelligent. Finally, the bishop decided they had the prayer straight. The bishop blessed them and returned to his ship, pleased that he had done his duty in teaching them. While the ship sailed away from the island, the bishop watched the island shrink in the distance. But then the bishop saw a ball of light. It left the island and came across the water toward the ship. The ball of light grew larger and larger as it got closer and closer. One of the sailors shouted, "It's the 3 holy hermits. They're running after us over the sea as if they were on dry land." And it was so. The ball of light came right up to the side of the ship. And the 3 hermits shouted up to the bishop, "O servants of God, we have forgotten the prayer already. We had it at first, but then one of us forgot a word, and before we knew it, the whole prayer fell apart. Teach it to us again, please." The bishop fell on his knees in the presence of such holiness. He bowed his head and said, "It is you who should teach me. Go home and continue your prayer of the heart." And the 3 holy ones turned around, walking on the water. A radiant light shone around them. And that bishop became a different kind of person. I've heard some good advice about prayer. Pray as you can. Don't pray as you can't. Makes sense, right? It's not the words that are important. It's your heart. A long time ago, I remember baptizing an adult woman with autism, the kind of disability my daughter has. I felt so honored to baptize her. You see, she had been refused baptism by other clergy. This happened up in Syracuse. Now, after I baptized her, I said the next words in the prayer book: "Let us welcome the newly baptized." And then comes a line in the book that the congregation is supposed to say together. But they didn't do it. Instead, everybody in the place just started clapping. They welcomed her into the church family with their applause. I have a picture of this very moment in my office, and it's a treasure to me. Later that day, I was talking again about this to my wife with delight. And she said, they were not doing it from the book. They were doing it from the heart. It's not the words that matter. It's your heart. The Lord's Prayer is a real icon of the church. Jesus taught his followers to say it. We say it together week by week. But the words don't matter as much as your heart. Pray as you can. Don't pray as you can't. It's not the words that are important. It's your heart.